There is a bird outside your window right now that knows exactly who you are. Not your yard, not your feeder, you. The way you move, the time you come outside, whether you look up when you hear it calling or keep walking without breaking stride. It has been watching you, quietly, consistently, from a distance you probably never noticed, building a picture of you that is more detailed than you realize. And you have no idea it's been happening. Welcome back to Backyard Bird Mind. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe, because what you're about to learn will change the way you look at every bird that visits your yard. Today, we're going deep into one of the most extraordinary and least talked about findings in modern bird research. The fact that certain birds in your neighborhood don't just recognize your yard, they recognize you. Specifically, individually, and they have been doing it for longer than you think. There is a bird outside your window right now that knows exactly who you are. Not your yard, not your feeder, you. The way you move, the time you come outside, whether you look up when you hear it calling or keep walking without breaking stride. It has been watching you, quietly, consistently, from a distance you probably never noticed, building a picture of you that is more detailed than you realize. And you have no idea it's been happening. Welcome back to Backyard Bird Mind. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe, because what you're about to learn will change the way you look at every bird that visits your yard. Today, we're going deep into one of the most extraordinary and least talked about findings in modern bird research. The fact that certain birds in your neighborhood don't just recognize your yard, they recognize you. Specifically, individually, and they have been doing it for longer than you think.
The information had been shared, taught, passed through the flock. That is not instinct. That is culture. What it means for your yard is this. Every crow that has ever watched you from your fence line, every one that has seen you refill the feeder or chase it off or ignore it, has contributed to a community assessment of you that exists right now in your neighborhood. You have a reputation with the local crows. The only question is what kind. But crows are not the only ones watching. Stay with me, because this next part is about a bird most people never suspect. The northern cardinal. The bird's so common, so familiar, that most backyard birders stop really seeing it. The flash of red at the feeder every morning, the song before sunrise. You've stopped noticing how often it comes, or how long it stays, or the fact that it always lands on the same branch before approaching. That consistency is not coincidence. It is memory. Cardinals do not have the facial recognition precision of corvids. Research is clear on that. But what they have is something that functions in a remarkably similar way in practice. A spatial and social memory that builds over time and attaches to specific individuals in their territory. The cardinal that visits your feeder every morning has been assessing you since the first time it saw you. Every time you moved quietly, it logged that. Every time you came outside and didn't startle it, that went in too. Every time the feeder was full when it arrived, that mattered. What it has built over months is a risk tolerance specific to you. Not to people in general, to you, the one who stands at that window, who comes out at the same time, who moves the way you move.
And that tolerance is not automatic. It is earned, slowly, without announcement, in a currency most people never realize they're spending. Here is where this gets complicated, because the same system that builds trust builds the opposite just as efficiently. A study from the University of Exeter confirmed something backyard birders have felt intuitively for years without having the language for it. The birds that visit a yard consistently are not interchangeable representatives of a species. They are individuals with individual histories, individual memories, individual assessments of the specific humans in their environment. Which means when you do something that registers as a threat, even once, even without meaning to,
it doesn't disappear. It gets filed, and it changes the calculation. You slammed the back door during peak feeding time, and every bird scattered. You walked toward the feeder without thinking while a chickadee was on it. You let the feeder run empty for 2 weeks in January. None of those things felt like a big moment. To the bird, each one was data, and data accumulates. The chickadee, particularly, is worth understanding here. Research at the University of Washington demonstrated that black-capped chickadees produce alarm calls that vary in complexity based on the specific nature and size of a perceived threat. More syllables in the DDD sequence correspond directly to higher threat levels. Other birds in the area, not just other chickadees, read those calls and respond accordingly. What that means in practice is that an interaction you have with a single chickadee in your yard propagates outward immediately. The way you moved, the threat level you registered, that information hits the wider bird community in the yard within seconds. You are being evaluated not just by the bird in front of you, but by everything within earshot. Your behavior near the feeder is a broadcast.
Now, stay with me, because what comes next is the part most people find genuinely hard to believe until they've seen it themselves. When a relationship between a bird and a specific human reaches a certain threshold of trust, something shifts. It stops being purely transactional. A crow that has assessed a human as safe, reliable, and positive doesn't simply stop being afraid. It begins to engage, voluntarily, specifically. Researchers studying crow behavior in residential areas have documented what can only be described as gift-giving. Small objects, pieces of wire, buttons, fragments of glass, left deliberately at the location where the trusted human regularly appears. Not scattered randomly, placed at the spot for the person. This has been observed consistently enough that it is no longer treated as anecdote. It is a documented behavior of crows in established positive relationships with specific humans. The crow is not doing this for every person who puts out food. It is doing it for the one it has chosen, the one it assessed over time as worth choosing. That is not a metaphor. That is a bird making a decision about a specific human being. And here is what most people never consider. The process of being chosen doesn't announce itself.
The birds in your yard are not passive recipients of what you provide. They are active assessors of who you are. The chickadee that lands 3 feet from your face is not being fearless. It has concluded, based on accumulated evidence, that you specifically are not a threat. The cardinal that arrives first every morning is not random. It has learned your schedule and built its own around it. The crow that watches from the oak tree is not just present. It is paying attention in a way that most people reserve for other people. You have been observed, evaluated, filed. And the relationship that exists in your yard right now, whatever form it takes, is the result of every interaction those birds have ever had with you, including the ones you don't remember and the ones you never noticed were happening at all. The practical implication of this is simple, but easy to underestimate. Consistency is the currency. Not elaborate setups, not expensive feeders, not perfect yards. Consistency. The feeder full at the same time. The movements calm and predictable. The presence regular enough that they can build expectations around you. A bird that can predict you is a bird that can trust you. A bird that trusts you will come back. And a bird that comes back morning after morning, season after season, until you know which branch it uses and how long it waits before approaching, that bird is not just visiting your yard. It has decided you are part of its world. That is not a small thing. Most people go their entire lives without being chosen by a wild animal. The birds in your yard are offering you exactly that. if you understand what they're actually doing when they look at you. Go out